Hey everybody, just a little bit of warning for the video you're about to watch. I haven't really made many videos lately, and it shows. And I've been fighting my anxiety quite a bit to try to get some content out, and I really wanted to talk about Dawn of X. And so I apologize in advance for any kind of like meandering or get to the pointedness that I don't get to in this video that you're about to watch. So I apologize. Take it out on my anxiety and my fact that I just got done with an 8.5 hour shift at work. So enjoy. Bye. All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back to talk more comics. And today we're going to be talking about the status of the Dawn of X series that are going on right now, and just in general, what I think is going on and the future of the X books. And it's not some secret by now that if you've been following the X-Men, and over the last year, really pretty much over the last year, a couple of years, you know that up until Hox and Pox, the X-Men were in pretty bad shape as far as their books go. I happen to still like what they were doing with Cable. I actually did like what they were doing on X-Force. I did like a little bit of Uncanny X-Men. But the thing is like once we knew, right, that Age of X-Men was coming and all these books were coming to an end, X-Men Red was not well received by comic book fans, hardcore comic fans. I didn't, it wasn't, to me it wasn't even around long enough to really understand how bad it was until after the fact. Like I said, I was in kind of a drought. I was just reading X-Men, and after X-Men Red was like, I knew there was something wrong with that book. I just couldn't put my finger on it at the time. But once Age of X-Men came out, I really, opened my eyes to the real problems that are going on with the X-Men universe. And they ended X-Men Gold. They ended X-Men Blue. They ended X-Men Red. They ended Cable. They ended X-Force. They ended all Uncanny X-Men. And Age of X-Men really put the nail in the coffin. Where that was like one of the worst X stories I'd ever read in my life. I actually stopped reading about 3/4 of the way through. And only picked up X-Men, I think Omega. Is either Alpha or Omega, whichever one came last. Just to kind of see like where this maybe was going to jump into Hox and Pox, which it didn't. And so Hox and Pox comes out. House of 10, Powers of X. And it's this huge success. Everybody was excited that Hickman was coming on. He was going to relaunch the X-Men, give them a whole new storyline, jumping off of what happened after Age of X-Men, and it was I felt in my heart that it was going to be good. And I know that a lot of people were probably a little more trepidatious than I was. But it came out and it hit the ground running and never lost steam. Right up till the very end, it was great. And so we also knew during that, as it was coming out, that they were announcing what the books were going to be called. They gave us synopsises of what these books were going to be like. And the books started coming out, and opinions started to form, but we all knew that it was way too early to start, canceling books, but we were already saying, like, what's the best, what's the worst, what's going to be the one to stick, what's going to be the one to go, all this stuff. And that's just kind of what you want to do to, like, gain steam for the book series and get people to read and things like that. But now that we're, like, 6 issues in with all the books, 5 are X-Men, and I think it's about to be, I think the 5th issue is finally coming out this week. Yeah, the 5th issue is finally coming out this week. So there are only 4 issues of X-Men right now, as I'm talking. Tomorrow or the next, on Wednesday, depending on when I get them in the mail, maybe even the 5th issue will finally be out. And so what we're going to talk about here is like the state of all these books. But as of right now, they're all kind of a hodgepodge mess. And I know that some people, like, I love that we all have differing opinions, and I have differing opinions from some of the people that I respect. I still respect their opinions, even though I don't agree with all the things they say about the books. But we're going to start right now. Well, first off, let's just say this. It feels like they're not following what we thought it was going to be for jumping off of Hox and Pox. It feels like there's a lack of communication. It feels like Marvel's kind of doing its own thing. A lot of these books' tones are different, which is fine, but the characters are starting to be a little bit different as well. So let's jump into what I think is going on. Well, Fallen Angels, first off, when I was on the Adamantium Hour on Wes's channel at Thinking Critical. If you're not a subscriber, definitely go over there and check him out. He's got a lot of good people on there, and it's very well-made videos. A lot of his opinions are on point. I said that when I was on there, The Fallen Angels would be the first book to go. It's the best story, kind of the best. It's got one of the best writers on it, but it's probably going to be the first one to go because Kid Cable fucking is lame. Kwannon it's a very strange character to start out with. When you've got X-Men, New Mutants, X-Force, Marauders, all these team books, right? And then you've got Fallen Angels, and it's pretty much a story about Kwannon, or, who used to be with Betsy Braddock in the Psylocke body. But now she's got her body back, and she's back to being Kwannon, and nobody knows this character. And then you've got X-23, who a lot of people really, really hate. And Kid Cable is so new, he can still smell the new fresh mutant smell on him. And I don't like him. I know a lot of other people don't like him. And the fact that they can bring anybody back, and we're dealing with this Kid Cable instead of old Cable, who earned his right to be resurrected. I don't know why they don't bring him back anyway. How many Nate Grays were running around at the time of before Hox and Pox even ended anyway? You had Cable, you had Nate Gray, you had all these, apparently Kid Cable running around anyway, right? Because he was in extermination when he came back and killed Cable. It's like, why did you have to kill Cable in the first place, really? Couldn't you have just said, hey man, you're not doing a good job, I'm going to take over. That doesn't mean I got to kill ya. So anyway, I don't want to go on that Cable rant any longer, but Fallen Angels, it suffers from a personality problem because, honestly, unless you're a hardcore fan, to me, I love Kwannon as a character. I love what they're doing with her in this book. But I think the only major importance that's in this book is the overclock stuff and this character that they're trying to stop. This, I forget what his name is now. The one that they're trying to stop. Apoth. I think that has something to do with, the future technology that the humans are getting into and the drug that people are getting into. I think that's the important part of this story that's kind of the through line that has anything to do maybe with what Hill is doing with House of X and Powers of 10. But the problem isn't the writing by Brian Edward Hill, who's an incredible writer. The problem with this book, besides the characters that nobody knows or likes, is this art. On top of that, on top of the fact that nobody likes these, knows or likes these characters. I mean, look at that. Now, I've always said, and I say it before and I'll say it again, I used to draw, but I was never very good at it. I was more of I could look at something and copy it. Right? I never trained myself. I probably could have been all right at it if I, studied or whatever, but it wasn't in the cards for me. But, look at... Now, the other part that's wrong with this is, he's got these great borders, right? Like, if you look around the edges of the pages, right? He's got all this, plants and bamboo, and that's all really great. I really like that. I love everything surrounding the frames. It's what's in the damn frames that's the problem. This artist, Kudransky, this is just not good drawing. And like I said, I hate dissing it, because it should, this, for me, the story should be what carries the book, and that the art, you know, is unless it's too distracting, shouldn't take away from the story. But unfortunately, the art is so distracting that I have a hard time paying attention to what the actual story is. So I guess, and this book is ending. I think after issue 6, that might be it for it. And then Kwanen's going on to Hellions, which, you know, they end one book and then they start another. That's another problem with this whole thing is, yeah, sure. Yeah, we're getting a Wolverine book. Great. Of course it's going to be great because Percy's writing it and Kubert's drawing it. So that's a no-brainer. We need one anyway, because Logan's like one of the only characters that actually still feels like his character, right? But then you've got Children of the Atom, which I'm not getting. I am not going to buy that book. It is the first one that I've just said, I got to stop shaking my camera. The first one that I'm just saying no to, flat out. I have no interest in that book, and you can call me whatever you want for not wanting to read that book. It just sounds like a horrible, horrible idea. I am interested in Chip Zdarsky's Fantastic Four X-Men, but with the way that they keep, there's X Factor and there's Giant Size X-Men and all these other books that are coming out, when we haven't even really hit our stride, our full stride with any of the other books. So I'm going to pause it real quick to get ready for the next book. Next up, I didn't pull an X-Men from Hickman out, but we're going to talk about X-Men and New Mutants at the same time. Now, let's first deal with X-Men by Hickman. The problem with that book is, what I didn't know, and what I don't think any of us knew going in, was that it was going to be each issue a singular story moving on to the next thing, like an episodic issues, where each one was about something different. There's no one storyline like that takes 3, 4, 5 issues, and then, you know, you move on to the next story, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe issues. That was my first problem I had with the book. The second I have with the book is its inconsistency. And inconsistency is a huge, huge part of the problem with Dawn of X. You either have a good writer and a bad artist, or you have a great artist and a bad writer. Or sometimes your good writer has good art, or your bad writing so bad. That kind of thing. It just keeps going on like this. Now, use art in X-Men, I just can't stand. I didn't like it in issue 1. I don't like it in issue 4. Now they say that Silva's coming back with issue 5, which is great. I looked at the covers and I'm like, wait, why is you still on the cover? I mean, it's the contents of it, but the writing, even though, for me, X-Men has been inconsistent. I thought the first issue was okay. It was a setup. It was talking about but the thing is, it can't be set up. X-Men, if you look at it now, there is no setup for X-Men. Because if each issue is something different, then you're not setting up anything. You're not setting up the next issue for anything. So the first issue is about the Summers clan and the weirdness that's going on the moon. You know, with all that, how that all works. And it was all vague, but it was fine. Number 2 comes out, and it had some great world building, and had some cool apocalypse stuff. It had some introduced, some interesting characters, but the dialogue I hated. I know other people like this issue. It's fine. I found the dialogue between Scott and his kids to be so cringe-worthy, it just took me so far out of the story. Scott doesn't talk like that. Scott has never talked like that. That is not Scott Summers. I don't care if you're supposed to say, oh, well, he's happy now. Scott, like, what's version of Scott did they bring out, right? There's no version of Scott that they could have resurrected that ever acted like this. Scott just suddenly, I'm happy, and I'm probably cuckolding with Jean and Wolverine. Why would Scott be happy with that? If anything, like it. And then we get to issue number 3. I hate it. Let's move on. I hate it. I think the worst issues of comics I've read. It's one of the worst X books I've read since Dawn of X, or Age of X-Men. I mean, I hated it. I hated every fucking moment of that book. X-Men number 4 comes around, and again, no through line, just Charles and Apocalypse and Magneto being badass, delivering like these great speeches to the humans and laying down the law, which it was the final issue that I'd been waiting for. It was the one good issue, like solid all the way through, except the art in all of these issues bad. And so with at least with Silva coming back, at least the art is going to be good, whether or not Hickman tells us a good story or not. And that's another thing, is like, what is going on with Hickman? He had this great House of X and Powers of 10 was like lightning in a bottle almost now. Who is this guy writing these books? Who is this guy with the inconsistency? And I hate talking like this. I do, man. This bums me out. We get to New Mutants, and again, man, so many people hate this book. So many people hate this book. I'm not one of them, which means, like, in my world, that means that I'm all right. But it doesn't mean that I don't see problems or why people would have problems with it. Now, first off, I love the space versions of this. I really do. Some people don't like the dialogue, but it tracks with the way the New Mutants have been written to me over the years. They all are in character. In fact, they are... when I said Logan's one of the only ones that are in character this whole time, I have to revise that and say the New Mutants are pretty much spot on still. And I dig the space story pretty much. I think also because of what we know, Hickman saying that a lot of the most important stuff's happening in this book are going to tie into this book. Which you can definitely tell because they've got, they're sending out gates out into space and who knows who's going to come back or whatnot, They bring up the Brood and I think, oh shit, what if the Brood like infects something, I'm not going to go down that road. But then you get the Brisson story on Earth, which I actually thought at the time I didn't mind. But then the second issue of it came out and I went, woof. What is this? First off, I like Reese's art. I do not like whoever is drawing New Mutants, the Earth books. I don't like it at all. But I do like the Reese books a lot. If they just stuck to the space story, I think there'd be more people giving it more of a chance. Brisson's story, though, I don't know why they're doing it, except that there's too many New Mutants. There's too many of them running around. And the ones that are on Earth, like Boom Boom should be with this team. Not with the Z squad of mutants that nobody likes. Okay, maybe not nobody. But if people already are like, who are the New Mutants? Then the Z squad has really got to be lesser known. I do like the storyline that they're using in this because a lot of it goes back to like stuff that happened in Mr. and Mrs. X with Xavier and Lalandra's kid and bringing in Deathbird and the foreshadowing issue that was part of one of the issues of House of 10, Powers of X, where you see Sunspot on the throne and Gladiator kneeling before him. Those are all really interesting things going on. And I do think that, for this book that's one of the most disliked by people is actually, I don't hate this book. But again, there's inconsistency when the stories are going back and forth with different artists that to varying degrees like that just aren't very good. The art in it is not good. And Brisson's writing, well, I like in some books. I don't really care for in New Mutants. All right, let's pause and get to the next one. All right, so let's talk about Marauders. Marauders, man, is on number 6. And Marauders was my least favorite book as it hit the ground running. I thought that the tone was bad. I thought the humor was terrible. I thought Kitty Pryde was like, what is wrong with Kitty Pryde? Even though I like the idea of her not being able to get Krakoa, it brings up some interesting ideas. And that's the thing. There are interesting ideas in Marauders. It's just the execution seems to be really, really weird. Also, this book series has one of the best villains in Sebastian Shaw. I will say that. Sebastian Shaw is one of the characters who is still classic Sebastian Shaw. He's a prick. He is one of the worst, worst, worst. And it's showing already that working with the villains is going to get, not all of them are going to be on the side of light just because things in Krakoa are supposed to be this peaceful area. Sebastian Shaw, I mean, really, it almost makes me wonder, like, what were they really thinking when they were coming up with this idea of working with people like him when they know who he is. Same with Apocalypse, right? And it makes you wonder, like, I'm finally starting to get on board with the idea of who the hell is Professor X really Professor X? Because why would Professor X ever allow all these villains to just be running carte blanche all over the place? But Marauders has started to turn it around. It has started to turn around. Problem is that there's still too many dumb things going on in it. Mainly dialogue. Right? Now, Jerry Duggan, as everybody likes to point out, worked on Deadpool for a long time. But it wasn't just doing Deadpool. And yeah, the art in this one issue is kind of all over the place because they switch. But it's the humor, it's the tone that switches from, goofy to very, very serious at each turn. It just, like at the beginning of this, like this issue in general, right? Now, the one cool thing I'll point out is, like, look at this. The white page for the intro is only one side now, for this one at least. Maybe that's something they're going to change. But this very hardcore fight going on, and then, like, after the fight's over, then you got these dumb Vendry kids who are just some of the worst villains. I mean, come on. They have this great plan with Yellow Jacket, which I did like, where he's inside Pyro. But then, after, and they brought back Donald Pierce, who I was like waiting for Pierce to show up, right? You can't have Shaw and Frost without Pierce finally showing his fucking face. And so he's here too. And so this book does have momentum. It does have some interesting things going on. Finally. But then they get that line in there about Bobby just hey, everybody, make sure y'all know I'm gay. That I got to go be a guest judge on Drag Race this week, and that's why I can't be here to protect Kitty Pryde, and that's why she's going to be prideful and let herself be taken by Sebastian Shaw, who acts exactly like Sebastian Shaw should, while Kitty's being all weird and drunk and I want to be Kate now and all this other stuff, which might work in a better writer's hands. Because here, I mean, Shaw, like, does, like, the worst, like, his plan is fucking awesome. I mean, for a bad guy, I mean, he worked the back channels, he got with the right people, he got, Lockheed all wrapped up, he put the vines around her feet, she can't get back to Krakoa, and we don't know if she can be resurrected. And that was all really good. It was everything leading up to this book, though, this issue, that was just so, where the humor was so bad, so bad. But again, what will issue 7 even be like? This one good issue, this one pretty good issue still had lots of problems. And the art, again, inconsistency. I think overall theme, if there's a through line for Dawn of X, the biggest word is inconsistency. Not just disappointing that your favorite writer's not on this or there's a bad artist on this. It's inconsistency. Forget what Marvel's doing and how they're jamming out the books and all that. That's not good either, but I'm just saying. So let's talk about the next book. Excalibur. Its 6th issue just came out. I'm a fan of Excalibur. I don't like everything about it, just like I don't like everything about any of these books except for maybe X-Force, which we're saving till last so that I can actually smile a little bit more. But Excalibur to me, yeah, I agree with other people. They're not doing Gambit justice. Gambit is being kind of made to look like a jerk when anybody that's reading this book should know that he's got his wife's best interests at heart. I do like Richter in this. I usually hate Richter, but I'm enjoying what they're doing with him. I'm loving what they're doing with Apocalypse, even though Apocalypse in this doesn't seem like the same Apocalypse that's in X-Men. Or what, the couple of issues that he's been of that. I don't honestly give a crap, though, about Betsy Braddock and Brian Braddock. That's the only part about Excalibur that's kind of important to like, is Otherworld. I don't give a fuck about Otherworld. I have to be honest. I never have. Every time any book I'm reading goes to Otherworld, I'm just like, in Camelot, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I remember when Weapon H had a storyline that went to Otherworld, and I was just like, oh my god, you guys really don't know what to do with Weapon H, or you're going to Otherworld. So Betsy, I like the struggle of Betsy and her identity. She got her body back. Now she's suddenly Captain Britain. That's cool. Jubilee's thrown in here because I don't think they know what to do with Jubilee. I don't think they ever know what to do with Jubilee. Except now she's got a baby, and when they go to Otherworld, her baby's a dragon, which, yay, fun, right? Whatever. I don't mean whatever like whatever. I mean just whatever. And poor Rogue was out for the count for most of these issues until she finally comes out and she does something awesome. Kills Apocalypse. Apocalypse lets her kill him, knowing he can come back, knowing he's a member of the High Council and will be on the major fast track to come back. Lets Rogue kill him. I'm sorry, that's fucking badass. Unfortunately, that's about as badass as it gets because everything else just quickly just ends, just gets resolved in these 6 issues. And then they make another huge, just bad decision. Jamie Braddock gets brought back, all right? And everybody's wondering, why is Jamie Braddock back? He is a insane in the membrane, Legion style, reality warper, and they put him in charge of Otherworld. Great idea. But then, I guess it makes a little more sense when you find out that Apocalypse, has him there because he's working on Morgan, Le Fay here, experimenting, doing a live dissection. She is alive and they're dissecting her. Again, interesting. What is Apocalypse doing? That is way more interesting, this little detail, than the majority going on in Excalibur. I like these characters. I just don't care about the story in the end. I like the magic stuff, all right? I do like magic. But I hate Otherworld. So it's kind of like my feelings for Excalibur are at war with themselves because... But I'm hoping that at least now that Morgan Le Fay is out of the story, I think that might have played a big part of it. That maybe I'll start liking the story a bit more. But again, Gambit gets nothing to do but just wait for Rogue to come back. Richter's got some stuff going on, which I do like. And for me, I know that this name right here, where is it? You can't really see it. Oh, it's way up here in the corner. This name right here, Howard, brings up a lot of bad feelings for a lot of people. And I just like Al Ewing, I have to try to... I have not liked everything that Howard has done, but I don't feel the same way, I guess, or care as much as maybe other people do about Tini Howard. And I've enjoyed what she's done here. I haven't enjoyed everything that she's done prior. I haven't read a lot of her work. Maybe if I read a lot more of her stuff, maybe I'd start changing my opinion on Tini Howard. But I do like what she's doing here in Excalibur. I'm not going to, feel bad about it, but I do think that she does need to do more. There's way more room to be better here. I'm hoping that she can be better. Because if it doesn't get better, I will say this: I will probably drop the book eventually. Not right away. This is going to be one of those that I'm going to be sticking with for a while because my love for Rogue and Gambit are. I will suffer through it like a Tom King, a Batman fan through the Tom King run. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I did like, they gave Rogue and Gambit a moment to be with each other in the hot tub, and it was pretty. It was hot. Okay, it was hot, but they were also talking about like having kids, and they don't want kids. She doesn't want kids, and Remy's just like, I don't care, Sarah, man. That's you, damn. And so Excalibur, like it's still again. I like this book. I like this book a lot, but inconsistency, and the fact that Otherworld just doesn't interest me. All right, on to the last book, X-Force. So this book is pretty much as close to perfect as any of the Dawn of X books gets, because we get a guy that understands what Hickman, I think, was trying to do. He understands the characters that he's writing for the most part. He definitely understands Wolverine. We get the best book in Dawn of X. And I don't understand why, if you can forget about the tone, why the other books don't take a page from Benjamin Percy's, way he's doing things. Now, I'm not going to say that it's perfect. I know that there's been moments in these books, these first 5 or 6 issues, that haven't been like the best of all things. But for the most part, this is the most kick-ass book. And this is one of the best X books I've ever read. Even though at the end of issue 4, I was very mad because Kid Omega gets decapitated and Wolverine gets cut off, and I'm just like going, God damn it. When are they going to catch a break? We just started this after Hox and Pox, and X-Force is one of the most brutal books. And that's what I think. I say that I hated it, but I loved it. I loved it at the same time because it's so raw and dark and real, and what would the humans really be doing to these mutants? And it'd be this dark shit. And what do you need for a team that is going to be handling this kind of dark level stuff? You need that kind of the team like Wolverine and Domino and people like that are the hard, raw fighters. And then you got like Jean and Beast handling like the espionage parts. Throw in Gateway in here, also I just love, and the art. This is some rough, part of me feels like I should hate this art, but I can't. I think it lends itself so freaking well to the story that they're telling. Josh Cassara's art matches the tone of the book perfectly, and it's so weird too. I mean, look at that. That's like Black Tom Cassidy like communicating with Krakoa to make a face that yells at Gateway. And Forge in this weird ass like Krakoan invention stuff, like this like armor that he makes. It's so gross. It's gross and dark and bloody. And I mean, come on, Wolverine, like half of Wolverine busting up people, and that smile on his face, and just this book being rated M for mature fucking helps quite a bit. And so, I mean, look at this. Look at Wolverine. He has been shot to shit. It's the book that's taking chances. It's the book that's going balls to the walls and moving the story forward from House of X and Powers of 10 into this glorious, like, just violent mess. And I love it. And I just don't understand why I mean, I kind of knew going in, right? when somebody, if gun to my head, if somebody were to ask me back then, what was going to be the best X book out of the ones that were initially launched, I was going to always say X-Force. I was always going to say X-Force. Because it just always, every iteration of X-Force I've ever read, except for one part of Uncanny X-Force, I've just dug. And I just think that if they all followed this same kind of, let's follow what Hickman did, let's follow the map, and try to be more towards that. I'm getting off track. I think my point is being very hard to make right now, but in the end, what I just don't understand, like, if they've all been given, if each of these writers has been given like some sort of outline to where they want to go, but they've been allowed freedom to take that outline and do whatever, I think that's the fucking problem. I think everybody just needs to be writing, like, take that outline, don't make it your own unless you know what you're doing. I don't know. I think I better stop before I dig myself a big hole. But again, inconsistency. Except for this. There wasn't a bad issue of this. And I know that I'm not, like, this is still not a popular opinion. I know people that just about hate every single one of these books. And that's their right. That's their right to feel that way. I know that these books aren't liked by people that want to like the X-Men books. But even I have to admit that I'm getting, every time a new comic book week comes out, and I do my research like weeks in advance to see what's coming out, I'm starting to go, like, when I get my pull list for each week, and it's different every week, trust me guys, because I'm getting a lot of independence now. I'm starting to get rid of some books that I used to read, but I've been sticking with the X books. But now I'm starting to go, which ones, if this doesn't turn around by issue 10, like, which one of these books is going to be the first to go? Now, Fallen Angels is going to already be gone, and by the time, issue 10 for a lot of these books comes out, we're going to have Wolverine, we're going to have Hellions, but, like, I don't know if I'd give some of these other books more of a chance. I don't think I will. I don't think I'll give a lot of these books more of a chance if they don't come out of the gate swinging. So, I don't know. If you liked this little kind of catch-up kind of take on Dawn of X, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. I think it's easy to see that I have not made too many videos lately, and I think I'm a little inconsistent right now. And so you can find me on Twitter at reviews_gun. Otherwise, this is Rob at Smirking Gun Reviews saying we'll be back with more content later. Have a great day. Bye.